The Third Testament, Revelations of Jesus Christ, Chapter 17, Prayer, the New Way of Worshipping God, Part 2. The Blessing of Intercession. Thus saith the Lord, do not become accustomed to praying only with words, pray with the Spirit. I also say to you, bless with the prayer, convey thoughts of light to your brethren. Do not ask anything for yourselves. Remember that he who serves me will always have me watching over him. The seed that you sow with love, you will receive multiplied. Do not pray only when you find yourselves going through some painful ordeal. Also pray when you are at peace, for it will be then that your hearts and thoughts can become occupied with others. Do not pray only for those who have helped you, or those who have not caused you any harm, for even though that is virtuous, it is not as worthy as assisting those who have previously harmed you. What is it that I teach you now? To bless everyone and everything with your entire heart and spirit, because who blesses in this way is similar to the Father, in making their warmth come to all. Therefore, I say to you, learn to bless with your spirit, with your thoughts and your heart, and your peace, strength and warmth will reach whomever you send it to, no matter how far away they are. What would happen if all men blessed one another, even without having met? Perfect peace would reign on earth. War would be inconceivable. For that miracle to occur, it is necessary that you elevate your spirit by means of perseverance in virtue. Do you judge this to be impossible? Ask, and it shall be given. All that you wish in charity for your brothers, ask me for it. Pray, unite your plea to that of the needy, and I shall concede what you ask. The necessity of prayer. Be watchful and pray, I repeat frequently, but I do not want you to familiarize yourself with this pleasant advice, but study it and put it into practice. I tell you to pray, for he who does not pray will surrender to thoughts which are superfluous, material, and sometimes unsound, with which, unknowingly, he encourages and fosters destructive wars. But when you pray, your thought, like a radiant sword, destroys the veils of darkness and the bonds of temptation, which today are imprisoning many beings, saturating the environment with spirituality and counteracting the forces of evil. Humanity has always been too busy with the great things of the earth to consider the importance that prayer and meditation have for that which is beyond this life, in order to discover its own essence. He who prays converses with the Father, and if he asks questions, receives instant replies. The ignorance of men about spirituality proceeds from the lack of prayer. You are approaching a time of true prayer, of worship without fanaticism, in which you will know how to pray before each undertaking, in which you will know how to watch over what has been entrusted to you, when you will know how to give fairly to your spirit that which pertains to him, and to the world that which corresponds to it. How can man go wrong if instead of doing his own will, he first asks the Father through prayer? Who knows how to pray lives in contact with God, knows the value of the benefits that he receives from the Father, and also understands the meaning and purpose of the trials that he passes through. The beneficial effects of practicing prayer. Throughout the eras I have said to you, pray. Today I say that by means of the prayer you can obtain knowledge. If all men prayed, they would never deviate from the path of light outlined by me. Through the prayer they would heal the sick. There would not be any more non-believers, and peace would again return to the spirits. How can man be happy when he has rejected my grace? By chance does he think that love, charity, and meekness are not attributes of the human heart? Know that the word that bears no love has neither life nor power. You ask me how you can begin to love, and what you must do so that this sentiment awakens in your heart. And I tell you, to start, know how to pray. Prayer will bring you to the Master, and I am that Master. In prayer, you will find consolation, inspiration, and strength. It will give you the sweet satisfaction of being able to speak intimately with God, without witnesses or mediators. God and your spirit meeting in that sweet moment of confidences, spiritual communication, and blessings. Whenever you need a confidant and a good friend, seek me out and deposit in me the sorrows of your heart, and I will show you the best pathway, the solution you seek. If your spirit is oppressed by sorrows, it is because you have sinned. I will receive you and will be benevolent in my judgment. I will strengthen your intention to reform and return to you your lost strength. Only the practicing of my teachings can keep you in grace and spiritual and physical health. The experience you gather will be light that you accumulate in your spirit. The spirit which knows how to be watchful will never depart from the route traced for him by his Lord, and he is able to employ his heritage and his gifts until he achieves his elevation. That being shall progress in his trials, for he lives alert and never allows himself to be dominated by the material. He who prays and keeps vigil shall always emerge triumphant from the difficult times, and will know how to walk with firm steps on the path of life. Oh, how different is the conduct of he who forgets to pray and keep watch. Voluntarily he renounces defending himself with the best arms I have placed in man, which are faith, love, and the light of wisdom. It is he who does not hear the inner voice that speaks to him through his intuition, his conscience, and his dreams. But the heart and mind do not understand that language, and do not give credence to the message that comes from his own spirit. Prayer is the means revealed to your spirit to come to me with your questions, your uncertainties, and your yearning for light. Through that communication you can dissipate your doubts or tear away the veil hiding some mystery. Prayer is the beginning of the spirit-to-spirit communication that in times to come will flourish and give its fruits to all humanity. Today I have revealed all this to the people who hear me so that they may be the forerunners of the era of spirituality. The power of prayer. When one of you prays, you do not realize what you reach spiritually with your thoughts, and it is necessary that you know that when you pray for your brothers, for those people destroying themselves in war, in those moments your spirit is prosecuting a war as well, a mental war against evil, and your sword, which is peace, reason, justice, and a yearning for the good of your brothers, clashes with the weapons of hatred, vengeance, and pride. This is the era in which men realize the power of prayer, and for prayer to have true power and light, it is necessary that it be sent up to me with love. Thought and the spirit, united in prayer, create in mankind a force superior to any human strength. In prayer, the weak are strengthened, the coward rest in courage, the ignorant are illuminated, and the clumsy made able. The spirit, when it has achieved harmony with the mind in order to reach true prayer, becomes an invisible soldier who leaves behind for a few moments that which touches his being, and passes to other places, frees itself from the influence of the material, and gives itself over to the struggle to do good, to banish danger and evil, and to bear within a glimmer of light, a drop of balsam, and a breath of peace to the needy. For all, I tell you, understand how much you can do with the mind and spirit, in the midst of the chaos in which man is immersed. You are in a world of conflicting thoughts and ideas, where passions for materialism are alive, and the spirits navigate in darkness. Only he who has learned through prayer to elevate himself in thought and spirit to the regions of light, to the dwellings of peace, may penetrate without being defeated to the world of contention, where all human passions are reflected, leaving in exchange something of value for those who have need of the light of the Spirit. Learn to pray, for with prayer you may do much good, just as you may defend against threats. Prayer is both shield and sword. If you have enemies, you may defend yourselves with prayer, but know that this weapon must never wound or injure anyone, for its only purpose is to shine in the darkness. The elements are unleashed against mankind, but you must not fear, for you know that I have given you the power to overcome evil and protect your brothers. You can order those elements of destruction to stop, and they shall obey. If you continue praying and watching, you can perform prodigies and surprise the world. Pray with purity, make communion with my spirit. Do not seek out a particular place to do this. Pray beneath a tree, on the road, on a mountaintop, or in the corner of your bedroom, and I will descend to converse with you, to illuminate you, and to give you strength. Truly, I tell you that if you were already united in spirit, thought, and intention, your prayer would be enough to stop the nations that now prepare the hour to throw themselves at each other. You would destroy the hatreds, and would be an obstacle to all the evil projects of your brothers. You would be like an invisible sword to vanquish the strong and a shield to defend the weak. Humanity, confronting these trials, revealing the existence of a higher power, will pause for an instant to meditate, and that meditation will spare them from many of the heavy touches and trials that they are to receive at the hand of nature and the elements. If you had great faith and greater knowledge of the power of prayer, how many works of charity could you do with your thoughts? But you have not granted to it the power that it has, and so, many times you have not realized what you have turned down in a moment of true and heartfelt prayer. Do you not understand that the higher power is preventing the most inhumane of all your wars from breaking out? Do you not understand that taking part in that miracle are millions of the prayers of men, women, and children, who, with their spirits, are combating the darkness and struggling against the influence of the war? Continue praying, continue watching, but put into these actions all the faith you are able. Pray, people, and over war, pain, and misery lay the cloak of the peace of your thoughts, making of them a shield underneath, whose protection your brothers may shelter and be enlightened. The love of God and your neighbor as veneration of God. Be aware, my new disciples, that you should always honor and offer tribute to the Lord, without awaiting specific dates, in the same manner that the Father always loves you. But if you want to know how to remember my deeds of love on a daily basis without falling into fanaticism, I will tell you how. During your lifetime, you should continually love one another as a tribute to the one who has created everything. Live in that manner, and I will grant you those things that you humbly request to forgive your faults. I offer you comfort and ease your pain, but I say to you, when your conscience makes you aware of your errors, pray, correct your errors, and with your spiritual gifts, attain spiritual strength, in order not to commit the same faults again. Thus, you will not have to ask me repeatedly to forgive you. My word is teaching you to evolve and to attain enlightenment and spirituality. I thirst, I said to the mob that did not understand my words and enjoyed my agony. And now, what can I say to you when I see it is not a mob, but the whole world that wounds my spirit without seeing my pain? My thirst is infinite, incomprehensible, and only your love can quench it. So why do you offer me outward worship instead of love? Do you not know that instead of water you are offering me gall and vinegar? Verily I say to you, that those who suffered and greatly offended me shall be the ones who will love me more intensely, and from their heart will constantly emerge their offering to my divinity. It shall not be material offerings, nor psalms, or altars of the earth. They know that the most pleasing offering and worship for me are the deeds of love, which they perform toward their brethren. Day after day, your spiritual prayer, whose language your material nature does not understand, because it has no words pronounced by your lips, nor ideas formed by your mind, comes to me. The prayer of the Spirit is so profound that it is beyond human senses and powers. By that prayer, the Spirit comes to the regions of peace and light where elevated spirits live, and saturating itself with that essence, returns to the transitory body to pass strength to it. People, the time when you must know how to pray has come to you. Today, I do not come to tell you to prostrate yourselves on the ground. I do not come to tell you to pray with your lips, or that you clamor to me with florid words in beautiful prayers. Today, I come to tell you, seek me with your thoughts, elevate your spirit, and I will always descend to make you feel my presence. If you do not know how to talk to your God, your repentance, your thoughts, your pain, and your love will suffice. That is the language that I hear and understand, the language of truth and sincerity without words. That is the prayer that I have come to teach you in this third era. Whenever you have done good works, you have felt my peace, tranquility, and hope, and that is because the Father is very close to you. I reject all that which is vanity and human grandeur, for only that which is spiritual reaches my spirit, that which is noble and elevated, pure and eternal. Remember that I said to the woman of Samaria, God is spirit, and it is necessary that he be worshipped in spirit and in truth. Seek me in the infinite, in the pure, and there you will find me. Why do you offer me those things that I have made for you? Why do you give me flowers if you do not make them? On the other hand, if you present me deeds of love, charity, forgiveness, justice, and of help for your brethren, then you will be offering me a true spiritual gift, and will ascend like a caress to the Father, like a kiss which children will send to their Lord from the earth. Nor do I wish you to enclose your worship in material houses of worship, for you will thereby imprison your spirit, and not allow it to open its wings to conquer eternity. The altar I leave you, and on which you shall celebrate your worship as I expect, is life beyond any limitations, beyond all religions, churches, and sects, for it exists in the spiritual, in the eternal and divine. The communion of conscience between God and man. Today, I come to you with a teaching that might seem impossible for the world to practice. But once it is understood, it is the easiest to fulfill. I come to teach you the worship of the love of God through your life, your deeds, and the spiritual prayer, which is not pronounced by the lips at the predetermined place, nor is it in need of forms or images to be inspired. While men have wanted to see me as a distant and remote God, I have proposed to show them that I am closer to them than their eyelashes. They pray mechanically, and if they do not see all they asked for immediately, discouraged they exclaim, God has not heard us. If they knew how to pray, if they united their minds and hearts with their spirits, they would hear the divine presence of the Lord in their conscience and feel His presence very close to them. But how can they expect to feel my presence if they ask through materialized worship? How can they possibly sensitize their spirits if they worship even their Lord through images made with their own hands? I want you to understand that you have me very close to you, that you can communicate with me, feel me as well as receive my inspirations easily. Practice the silence which favors the spirit, so that it will find its God. That silence is like a fountain of knowledge, and all who penetrate into it will be filled with clearness of my wisdom. The silence is like a closed place with indestructible walls, to which only the spirit has access. Man constantly carries within his innermost the knowledge of the secret place in which he can communicate with God. You can communicate with your Father wherever you are, for the place is of no consequence. It can be at the top of the mountain, or if you find yourselves in the depth of a valley, in the commotion of a city, in the peace of your home, or in the midst of a struggle. If you seek me in the interior of your sanctuary, in the midst of the deep silence of your elevation, the doors of the universal and invisible temple will be opened instantly, so that you feel yourself truly in the house of the Father, which exists in each spirit. When the pain of your ordeals overwhelm you and your afflictions of life annihilate your senses, if you experience an intense desire to obtain a little peace, retire to your chamber or seek the silence, the solitude of the countryside. There, elevate your spirit, guided by its conscience, and enter into meditation. The silence is the kingdom of the spirit, a kingdom that is invisible to human eyes. At the moment of penetrating the spiritual ecstasy, the awakening of the superior senses is obtained. Intuition surges, the inspiration glows, the future is perceived, and the spiritual life touches what is distant, and makes possible what before seemed impossible. If you wish to penetrate the silence of this sanctuary, of this ark, you yourselves should be the ones to prepare the way, for only with true purity will you be able to penetrate it. It is necessary for my prophets to rise again to admonish men, because while there are people who destroy themselves, blinded by ambition and violence, those who have received my light and calmly judge humanity are fearful of rising to give the good news. If this humanity would know how to pray with the Spirit, they would hear my voice, they would receive my inspiration. But each time they pray, they place a veil over their eyes, which hides to them the light of my presence. I have to come to men during the moments when their bodies are at rest to awaken their spirit, to call on Him and converse with Him. It is Christ who, like a thief in the middle of the night, penetrates your heart to sow my seed of love within. Learn to pray and meditate at the same time, so that knowledge and understanding arise in each one of you. Spiritualism is liberty. That is why those who now hear me and have understood the meaning of this liberating doctrine see open up before them a great valley, where they shall struggle and give testimony that the time came when God, the Almighty Creator, came to establish communications between Himself and man. The doctrine of Christ was spiritual, but men surrounded it with rites and forms to put it within reach of the spirits of scarce elevation. You have entered the era of the Spirit, that of the great revelations, in which materialism, imposture, and imperfection will disappear from all worship, in which all men, through the Spirit, shall recognize God, who is all Spirit, and on that road find the means of perfect communication. When men have learned to communicate with my Spirit, then there will be nothing they have to ask or look up in books. Today, they still ask those who they think know more than they do, or they pursue texts and books, anxious to find the truth. If you learn to meditate a few minutes each day, and if your meditation is on the spiritual life, you will discover an infinity of explanations, and will receive revelations that you cannot get in any other way. Your spirit already has enough light to ask questions of me and to receive my replies. The spirit of humanity has already reached great elevation. Observe your brothers of humble condition who, in spite of the poverty of their knowledge, surprise you with their profound observations and the clear manner in which they explain that which for many others is inexplicable. Did you think they had frequented books or schools? No, but they have discovered, by intuition or by necessity, the gift of meditation that is part of spiritual prayer. In their loneliness, isolated from influences and prejudices, they have discovered how to enter into communion with the eternal and the spiritual, with truth, and some more and some less, all who have meditated on the true essence of life have received spiritual light for their understanding. You ask me, what does the prayer consist of? And I say to you, allow your spirit to elevate freely toward the Father with true faith and confidence during those moments of prayer. Allow your heart and mind to receive inspirations from the Spirit, and accept with true humility the will of the Father. The one who prays in that manner will be able to feel my presence joyfully at any moment during his life on earth, never again feeling that he is indigent. There, in the purest part of their being, in the Spirit will be where I write my law in this era. It will be there that I make my voice heard, and where I will build my temple. For that which does not exist in the Spirit might as well not exist. And so, though you raise enormous temples in my honor, though you offer feasts and ceremonies full of splendor, your offerings will not reach me, for they are not of the Spirit. All external worship bears in it vanity and ostentation. In contrast, the quiet offering, that which the world never sees, and that you offer me spirit to spirit, that reaches me because of its humility, its sincerity, its truth. In a word, because it proceeds from the Spirit. Read again my parable of the Pharisee and the publican from the second time, and then you will understand my teaching, which has been the same in all times. Do you know that some are loved without deserving it? That is how I love you. Give me your cross. Give me your sadness. Give me your dashed hopes. Give me the heavy burden you bear. I can bear all the pain. Feel yourselves free of your burden, so that you may be happy. Enter into the sanctuary of my love, and be silent before the altar of the universe, so that your spirit may converse with the Father in the most beautiful of languages, that of love.